So I kind of expected that we would be doing this video this afternoon, and then nothing gets much stranger than the one and only Graham Souness. Graham Souness, yes. Graham Souness, who still hails himself as an ex-Rangers player and manager. Manager in a bygone era of a bygone club, of a bygone time in the 1980s and 90s. A long time ago when a lot of the people that watched these videos maybe weren't even alive. A bit like the new Rangers, they weren't alive then either. And Jim White, the famous Scottish broadcaster, whose true colours came to the fore in 1998 when Celtic stopped the famous 10 from the mighty Deadco. And he was pictured behind the dugout at Celtic Park, almost in tears. But let's talk and let's listen to these bigoted brothers.
Past Rangers by 3-0 and now go 5 points clear of their Glasgow rivals. Post-match, Philippe Clement and Brendan Rodgers had differing emotions, as you might expect.
Don't forget what happened last week. So it was the best result in around 4 years for the club. So it's not that black and white. It's grey.
Did he say the best result in 4 years beating Ross County? Wow, I missed that one yesterday. Holy moly, that's good for a new club actually. The best result in 4 years.
Okay, it's maybe more dark grey today, and that's normal. For me also, I don't want to lose with 3-0. Nobody wants to lose that way. But we need to take the right conclusions out of that.
Our pressing has been really, really good, and for a lot of the game it was today. You've seen that hunger and that ability to double up around players. So I was really, really pleased with that. But there's other aspects that we will analyse when we look back on the game where we can improve. But I think you see the level that the players are at and the mentality that they're at. We're in a really good place, but it's so early in the season, and there's a lot more growth to come.
Join us at 8 p.m. Celtic Park time tonight and every night to talk about this pressing and the doubling up on players that Brendan Rodgers has been talking about over the last couple of weeks, and how I'm actually excited about the thought of this going into the Champions League, because I think it's going to give us a new style of play in the Champions League and a new way of defending. Anyway, let's get back to the Meltdown Brothers.
5-0 firm matches for Philippe Clement in all competition, Graham. 4 losses and 1 draw. So at the moment, it's all Celtic, and it doesn't look like changing anytime soon.
No, they have the better players, they have the better strikers, and I think that's if you're going to win football matches, you have to put the ball in the back of the net. And right now, and I said this last year, that they have better strikers than what we have.
But it's more than that, isn't it?
Is it?
Is it?
Can I read some stats to you from yesterday's game? So forget the result. You don't know the result. You don't know the result.
What? This is as bad as getting the time machine and going back and thinking you're the Rangers.
So Celtic had 53% possession, Rangers had 47% at Parkhead. That's not bad for an away team. Celtic had 14 shots, Rangers had 13 shots.
Ooh.
Celtic had 4 on target, Rangers had 4 on target.
Ooh.
Celtic had 5 off target.
The thing is, Graham, is you can talk about stats all you want, but all that really matters is how many times you put the ball in the net. And remember, if you want to talk about stats, Celtic had a goal ruled offside.
We had 5 off target. Does that sound like a game that's been one-sided to you? There's no doubt about it. There's a gap. That gap for me, looking at it, is Celtic have better strikers. Those stats are not suggesting that they are absolutely turning up and mullering Rangers at Parkhead. But there is a gap. They have opened a gap in them.
Did you watch the Man United versus Liverpool game where the stats were Man United had 8 shots and Liverpool had 11? They both had 3 shots on target, and Man United had 53% possession. You watch those stats, and those stats don't suit your argument.
I love it.
No, we finished last year second behind Celtic.
Again.
At the end of the season, they spent 28 million.
Oh, diddums. He's now talking about money. Now, Graham Souness was the manager at a time where the owner, David Murray, said for every $5 that Celtic spend, Rangers will spend a tenner.
We spent 14 million, and although they brought a lot of money in. So we're chasing them, but we're spending half the amount of money in the summer months. So there is a gap. Rangers are not in a healthy financial situation right now. Celtic are in a far better financial situation, what allows them to go out and cherry pick players like they got good money for that O'Reilly, take a chance on someone, where Rangers are buying under pressure that everyone they buy has to come in and do a job right now. And that's a difficult situation to be in.
It's a difficult situation to be in. I never heard him saying this when he was the manager of Rangers, and they were bringing in all the English players at a time where all the English players were banned from Europe, playing in Europe. All the English teams were banned from playing in Europe at the time. So, and Rangers picked up all these players on the cheap because they wanted to play European football. Well, you know, they were paying 2 or 3 times, maybe even 4 times more than what Celtic were paying at the time.
What's your take on it?
I'm just listening to Graham reel out stats.
Well, they're not my stats. These are facts.
But you would never use stats, Graham, unless you want to advance an argument. So I've just given you the stats of Man United, and the actual outcome of the game was that we've just discussed the fact that Liverpool were in a different zip code to Manchester United.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I would suggest at the same conclusion, despite you wanting to use the stats to advance an argument.
I watched the game yesterday, and I didn't. Yeah, Rangers didn't play well yesterday. They didn't. When they did carry a threat, they did.
So what are you talking about? You've just said going with the stats, they played well, and now you're saying they didn't play well. I think he maybe needs to go to the doctor. Maybe a bit dementia's kicking in. I feel sorry for Graham. No, I don't.
Of the people to finish it off, there is a gap that exists. But how many players would make that gap less? How many would make that change the other way in Rangers' favour? It's not a lot.
I don't know. The debate
it's 3 or 4 players and 50 million quid that Rangers don't have right now.
Regularly rages with you. And
3 or 4 players and 50 million quid. Cry or weep.
So, but you get all prickly about it, and then you start flinging around superlatives about people not being football people. When we've had this debate about the gap between the two clubs, and we've had this fierce debate, and you've said, absolutely not, absolutely not, absolutely not.
I'm accepting there's a gap. I said it last year. They have better strikers.
Vast gap.
Well, in your opinion.
Or in the results opinion. If you're in the results business and you don't ever beat this side, there's a vast gap, isn't there?
There's Graham Souness has said there's no gap between Celtic and Rangers. Go and look at the league table. Go and look at the amount of trophies that James Forrest, for instance. Yes, I like to bring up James because it's a momentous time for him. 500 games at Celtic and 24 trophies. Yes, that's more than Graham Souness won at Rangers. Funny that, isn't it?
There is an enormous... Listen.
Oh, there is now.
No, it's not an enormous gap. There's a gap. But in your opinion, it's not. In your opinion, it's an enormous one. I don't. And that's trying to watch that game yesterday objectively. I didn't see it a one-sided affair.
Mate, you can't watch that game objectively. You come for the same cloth as Barry, bigoted Ferguson, for goodness sake.
They were clinical in their finishes. They finished their goals well.
What about the one that was offside?
There's a couple of goals. The third goal is a deflection that our goalkeeper couldn't get to.
Jesus God Almighty, he's making excuses now. Once again, though, he still keeps on forgetting about the goal that was offside with this little bit of an elbow. Yeah, it was like this bit. It was the most ridiculous offside that I've ever given. Considering that there's been penalties given this season, not given this season, that were given last season, I think that having the whisker of his elbow offside is just unbelievable. But Graham decides to omit that from his statistical knowledge of the game yesterday.
The second one the first one was avoidable. The second one was avoidable. I think the big goalkeeper got his positional sense wrong. That would normally be a food and drink save for him. But there's no doubt about it. Celtic deserved to win yesterday. 3
Yeah, there we go.
goals, yes, they finished
Liverpool
better.
fans will tell you this Monday morning. There's only one stat in town.
Yep.
We beat United 3-0.
Yep.
There's only one stat in town from Celtic Park.
Yep.
Celtic won 3-0.
Yeah, I'm accepting that. And they deserve to win.
That's an all-important stat.
They deserve to win. I started by saying goals are the most important thing in football matches. They change the games.
So other stats don't really matter, do they?
No, goals are the ones that matter.
So why did you reel off the stats you reeled off?
I'm not watching the game yesterday and sitting there feeling we're getting absolutely tonked here. I didn't feel that. Maybe that's because I'm a
Die-hard Blues.
Celtic, wave after wave of attack. Our goalkeeper having to make lots and lots of saves. I didn't see that yesterday.
That's because he didn't save it. The ball went in the back of the net. I thought you were a football man, Graham. That's right. You've not been in management for years, aren't you? You're a dinosaur.
You told us there's not much between the two.
Well, what is much?
Are you telling us there is a gap between Celtic and Rangers?
It's not that big a gap.
There is a gap between Celtic and Rangers. But now you're saying there is a gap.
There's a gap. I accepted that last year when we had this conversation. But it's not that big a gap.
There is a gap between Celtic and Rangers. But now you're saying there is a gap.
Let me finish. There's a gap. I accepted that last year when we had this conversation. But I don't see it with an enormous gap. I've been in Glasgow. I've worked here for 5 years. I know how it works.
Come on, mate. That was in the 1990s. It's 2024. Football's changed a lot since then. Since you rolled into town with David Murray's millions that he borrowed from the Bank of Scotland and then corruptly changed Scottish football for the worst. And now it's Celtic that are in in advance, and now it's Celtic are in control. You're a bumbling wreck.
You lose an Old Firm game every...
Can't have that. No, your club died, mate.
Everything is wrong. Everything is wrong. And I would plead with the Rangers supporters right now that turned up at Ibrox and were critical of their team and the manager to take a deep breath and calm down.
Oh, he's taken that from our very own Peter Lawwell, isn't it?
That only benefits one side.
Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. No. Come on, Baz, you're not allowed to sing on this channel.
And that only benefits Celtic. Get behind your manager and get behind your football club.
But how do they do that? Rangers have forgotten how to win at Celtic Park.
Rangers have forgotten how to win at Celtic Park. Let's just let's get that back again.
But how do they do that? Rangers have forgotten how to win at Celtic Park.
When you see a big gap,
5 successive home league wins at Celtic Park now in this fixture.
When you say a big gap, you're talking 3 players, maybe 4 players. But Rangers don't have the finances to go out, and the manager is operating with one hand tied behind his back. He can't go out and buy the kind of players that...
Chad, what are you talking about? He's the one that bought the players in.
That can make that jump.
So
because he's now complaining that the fact that for one summer and one summer only, Celtic go out and splashed the cash significantly on just a handful of players rather than prospect players. And it's getting too little, Graham. Oh, it's so sad, isn't it? To see this one great... He's a rocket. He's a rock. Who says that these days?
Because of that, you can only see the gap widening.
They keep going on about the gap. Find the train. The next train coming in is the Safeco. Oh, it's not. It's not. Oh, it's late. Damn. It's not coming at all.
I don't have a crystal ball.
And that's a question. It's not a statement. Can you only see the gap widening?
If you go back to when Celtic did 9 in a row.
Hey!
Everyone.
Which time, Graham? Because we've done it twice, remember? So which time are you talking about? Are you talking about the first time? Or are you talking about the second time? You can wonder. It's difficult that when you've won 2 9 in a row, isn't it? It's really difficult for you. Remember, you were just a lad the first time, so yeah.
Maybe the media wasn't so intrusive and fierce then. Maybe they wouldn't have been saying it can never be. Rangers are finished. They can never challenge again. And then when Rangers did 9 in a row, would the Celtic supporters have been saying, "Oh, we can never challenge again"? It's football. You're from Glasgow. You know how it works there. Nothing is forever.
Nothing is forever. Rangers died. Rangers died. Nothing is forever. Rangers died. Rangers died.
Will turn. It's just hopefully, if you're a Rangers supporter like I am, it's sooner rather than later. It's football.
That's 20 years of Celtic domination. It's 2024. Martin O'Neill took us to Seville in 2003. We'd been pretty much dominant force in Scottish football. So saying nothing is forever is there's a lot of Rangers kids out there that should really be Celtic fans, and we know that their grandkids, a lot of Rangers fans are now Celtic fans. So yours as well, I hear.
You can see the Rangers' financial situation though is going to make life pretty darn difficult.
Yeah, very difficult, but not impossible. To get to the level where...
But not impossible. Hopefully somebody from America will come and buy us for 150 million. You'll be like, what? What do you mean I could have bought you for £1 12 years ago?
Celtic have got themselves.
Very difficult, but not impossible. Who knows what's around the corner for Rangers?
Do you think this has become like almost the most predictable fixture you could imagine, Simon? Did you think, before the game yesterday... You're looking at a 3-0, and you're looking at 3-4 nothing, and it's going to be Celtic.
The most predictable. This is when you know they're hitting rock bottom, innit? When they know that they're going to turn up against Celtic and they're in for a tanking.
There's nothing in Rangers' form this season, from drawing 0-0 with Dundee at the beginning of the season to losing to Dynamo Kiev, who are no powerhouse in European football and don't have a particularly bigger turnover than Rangers. Hearts, sorry, yeah. So you look at Rangers and you go, you've drawn with Hearts at the beginning of the season. You've got knocked out of the Europa League.
Look at Graham Souness's face, he's raging.
After the Champions League qualification by Dynamo Kiev, who don't have a bigger turnover than Rangers. They have the same sort of level of turnover. And you think to yourself, well, if you can't land a glove domestically on Celtic, because we have this debate frequently about whether Rangers and Celtic can be considered to be close to one another. If you never beat your opposition, never beat them, then you have to say that the gap is significant. Now, the argument then is what do you do to try and achieve things? You try and get into the Champions League. So you draw a team like Dynamo Kiev that you get a result with away from home. You bring them back to Ibrox or to Hampden in this instance, and you get knocked out of the things. Because I don't think Celtic are wonderful. I don't think they're great. I don't think this is the greatest Celtic side we've ever seen. Intellectual capital into Rangers. The scale of the job was far too big for him, and the scale of the Sunderland job was far too big for him. So Christ on a bike, so would Rangers be. Yet they let themselves sit there for a year and waste time. That's down to the ownership. That's down to the recruitment policies they've got there. Clement, to me, looks like he's got the chops, but you've got to give the fella some tools. And if
this goes back beyond Michael Beale as well. Steven Gerrard won one league. Steven Gerrard was there 3 years.
But he did win a league.
He was there 3 years. He can win 9 trophies in 3 years.
And he didn't.
For a Rangers and a Celtic manager, winning 1 trophy in 9 years normally doesn't keep you in a job.
Nope. And then he ran away, didn't he? He ran away when Big Ange came in. He couldn't handle Big Ange. He's like, this is a decent manager, man. Oh, no.
And coming from a fair position, though, given the fact that the erosion of Rangers, irrespective of whether it was their fault or not.
So I'm saying it goes back beyond Michael Beale.
But you think there is a gap, but it's not that big a gap.
Hang on, if you win a league, Graham, surely you should kick on. So what I'm saying is you've climbed that mountain, you've crossed the Rubicon, you've won the league after all this time. Right? So you're in build mode again. You've re-established yourself.
I don't know the numbers. I don't know the numbers.
I don't know the numbers, but you knew the numbers at the beginning of this interview, and now you don't know the numbers.
But my understanding is that Michael Beale had money to spend, and that money wasn't spent wisely. And the most important thing you hear me say every week when I'm with you, the most important thing at a football club is getting your recruitment right. They didn't. Whatever money they had, they appeared to have blown it.
They appear to have blown it. Make sure you join us at 8 o'clock tonight for the Celtic Live, where we can talk about the hilarity of everything that's went on this weekend.